Everybody, Alex Newman here with the New American, and we have a very special guest today. His name is Jackson Lahmeyer. He is a pastor in Oklahoma who decided to get involved in the political realm. He is now taking on Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, who, if you are a regular reader of the New American, you've probably seen his Freedom Index score, and it's not very impressive, especially for a Republican. Jackson, thank you so much for being with us. And tell us real quick, why did you decide to get involved in this race? I mean, you're going up against an establishment incumbent. He's been there. He's got the momentum. What made you want to get into the ring here?
Yeah, well, hey, thank you so much for having me on. It's a real honor. And what got me involved was really 2020 in the midst of the pandemic. I pastor a church, I have a business, and I have a family. That was just sort of my life. And when the pandemic hit, here in Tulsa, unfortunately, we have a very incompetent mayor and a very radical city council that weaponized the Tulsa Health Department. And they wanted us to shut down our churches in Tulsa. And I said, no, we weren't going to shut down. We actually, I thought, made a great accommodation. We did drive-in church. I was going to preach from the roof. And whenever we were the first church to make the announcement that we were going to do drive-in church, I had pastors calling me saying, hey, did you get permission from the mayor to do drive-in church? I said, I never thought I needed to ask the guy. I just said, no, we're going to do drive-in church. It's a great accommodation, I felt like. And on Saturday, March the 27th, the day before when we were going to do drive-in church, I get a call from the Tulsa police letting me know if we go through a drive-in church that we would be violating the mayor's executive order and I could be arrested for doing that. And I was just blown away, absolutely blown away. And so I got with my team. So we're going to go through with this. We're going to push forward. And if they're going to come arrest me, they're going to have to do it on the roof of my church. We had cameras we were going to make a big deal out of it. I didn't think they would actually do it. Nothing actually happened. In fact, I paid the Tulsa Police Department to be there that Sunday because they always run security for all of our services. So we did drive-in church, but then there were some mask mandates. And as a church, we never enforced the mask mandate. I said, I'm not going to police grown adults. And because of that, the Tulsa Health Department, they jumped all over my church. We continually were getting reported for health violations, And so they threatened to shut us down because we were a super spreader in the city of Tulsa. And it reached the point where I finally got tired of it, and I threatened a lawsuit publicly against the city of Tulsa. And once I threatened the lawsuit, guess what happened? They quit calling me, just like they weren't going to arrest me. There were a lot of bark with no bite. And so 2020 got me really involved in what was happening within the political sphere because they simply crossed into my lane as a pastor. I was content minding my own business and taking care of my business and my church and my family, but they crossed over and I wasn't looking for a fight, but I'll tell you, I'm gladly going to win one. And we won both of those fights and kept our church open. We never enforced the masks or anything like that. And so that was what kind of got me involved. And then I watched Senator James Lankford try to appease cancel culture and Black Lives Matter over the whole Juneteenth thing. He was the senator that wrote the amendment to replace Columbus Day with Juneteenth as a federal holiday. And that really bothered me because I came under direct attack from Black Lives Matter. I partnered with the Tulsa Police Department to do a Faith in Blue Weekend initiative. And because I partnered with the police, I became enemy number one of Black Lives Matter in Tulsa. We were getting death threats. They gave out my address. It was all kinds of crazy stuff. And I recognize this is a domestic terrorist organization. Why in the world is the senator from the state of Oklahoma trying to appease a bunch of domestic terrorists who are not going to be content with getting Juneteenth as a federal holiday? That's not what the initiative and the aim of Black Lives Matter is, or cancel culture. And so I watched that. I was very disappointed in that. And then all of us watched from November to January the 6th, James Lankford and other senators flip-flop like fish out of water. One minute you thought they were going to fight for the country, and then the next minute, January the 6th, we saw James cave like an absolute coward on national television. It was absolutely embarrassing as an Oklahoman to see that. And to make matters worse, after he caves, stabs President Trump in the back, he comes to Tulsa and he apologizes to the Black community for questioning the fraud. He sent out an email saying, we know there's fraud. This was before January the 6th. Then he comes back to Tulsa after January the 6th, and he apologizes for questioning the fraud because the fraud that took place in cities such as Philadelphia, Atlanta, those are highly African-American cities. So he apologizes to the black community because he wants to stay on the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre Commission. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is, but 1921, there was a horrible incident here in Tulsa. And this last year, they formed a very radical commission. This commission, they want reparations. They want critical race theory to be taught in the schools. Stacey, the proud communist Abrams, keynote speaker, and James wanted to stay on this commission so badly. He apologized for questioning the fraud. So I saw all those things. I didn't like it. I think right now what we need in D.C. is not a great appeaser like James Never the Same Lankford, but I think that we need warriors and fighters. And like I said, I wasn't looking for a fight, but if a fight comes my way, I'll gladly win it. And that's why General Flynn endorsed me before I was even a candidate. You know, Flynn came on board and said, it's his personal mission to make sure James Lankford never gets reelected in the state of Oklahoma again. So that's what got me involved. We started about 2.5 months ago, and we're off to the races. Things are going very, very well. James is in a lot of trouble here in the state of Oklahoma.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of phone calls and emails from friends in Oklahoma who are really excited about your candidacy. And as I look at your bio, I mean, you're right. You are not a political person. You got a degree in theological and historical studies from Oral Roberts. You were the campus director for Christ for All Nations, the Oklahoma State coordinator for the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. I mean, you've been in ministry, and then of course you have your own business also, the Lahmeyer Investment Company. And so it's really interesting to see you in politics. You know, one of the issues that I know has been really hot in Oklahoma for a long time. In fact, I follow what happens in the legislature there. They're always, you know, on the abortion issue. How can we ban abortion in Oklahoma? You know, and I think a lot of guys in Congress, a lot of Republicans, they like to pay lip service to, well, the Supreme Court has ruled, and I'm pro-life personally, but, you know, the Supreme Court ruled. Do you see things any differently than maybe James Lankford would and maybe some of the established Republicans in Congress?
This is a real differentiation point between James and I. James is, quote unquote, the poster child for the pro-life movement. But if you've noticed, in 40-something years, the pro-life movement hasn't accomplished a lot. We kill more babies a day than we did 40 years ago. So it's, you know, pretty impressive for how large of a movement the pro-life movement is to how little has been accomplished in, you know, 40 plus years. Here's the problem. You're probably not going to overturn Roe v. Wade on a federal level, but that's okay. You don't need to. You don't need to. States have rights. There's something called the 10th Amendment, and there's this process called nullification. People say, what are you talking about? How could you nullify Roe v. Wade? Well, the state of Oklahoma has already done this, not with abortion, but with marijuana. So on a federal level, marijuana is illegal. But here in Oklahoma, if you go to any city, any town, there are so many dispensaries. They're everywhere. I had just heard that there's more marijuana dispensaries in Tulsa, Oklahoma than there are churches now. How in the world does Oklahoma have so many marijuana dispensaries when it's illegal federally? It's because the state of Oklahoma said we have rights and we're going to choose to nullify that federal law, and we're going to sell marijuana here in the state of Oklahoma. So if we can do it for marijuana, I believe that we could also do it in regards to ending abortion in the state of Oklahoma, not having the excuse continually, well, the federal government, Roe v. Wade, Roe v. Wade. I'm not promising that I'm going to go to D.C. and overturn Roe v. Wade. It's probably not going to happen. You don't have the numbers up there. But I am going to support and I am going to hold accountable state elected officials. They can do something about abortion, specifically in the state of Oklahoma. Maybe not California, but right here in Oklahoma, we can handle and we can deal with the issue of abortion. We can end abortion as a state, being an abortion-free state.
Excellent, Jackson. And in the last minute or so that we have left, tell us, you know, a couple more key issues that you're on. We're definitely going to have you back. A fascinating campaign. And tell us where people can find more. What's your website?
Yeah, so my website's very simple. It's jacksonlahmeyer.com. Now, I joke around. I said, if I had to plan this out of running for office, I'd have simplified things and I'd have legally changed my name to Jack Law. It'd have been so much easier to spell Jack Law. But Lahmeyer is Lahmeyer. So it's jacksonlahmeyer.com. They can find out where I stand on many of the different issues. But for me, the issue that we have to beat, I believe, the drum so loudly to is election integrity. If we don't have fair and legal elections, we no longer have a free country. And so tomorrow I fly out to Maricopa We've got some important meetings out there. There's a lot of good things happening. But what happened in 2020, it can never, ever happen again.
Excellent. Well, Jackson, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for
Thank you.
standing in the political arena after so many years of faithful service in ministry. And we will look forward to talking to you again very soon. Folks, that's
Thank you.
Jackson Lahmeyer. He's running for the U.S. Senate in the state of Oklahoma, taking on a longtime establishment incumbent, Senator James Lankford. I encourage you to look him up in the Freedom Index. Very unimpressive score. So stay with us. We will be back with so much more. Thanks for tuning in, and God bless you all.